Hey there guys, I am SonicGhost and welcome back to Let's Play Splatoon. Today's a sad day as this is our final time playing Splatoon multiplayer before the Wii U server shut down on April 8th, 2024. So let's jump straight in with some news. Hold on to your tentacles. It's Inkopolis news time. Let's unveil the current regular battle stages. Alright. Bluefin Depot. That big iron bridge really defines this battleground. It's always in my way when I'm getting my snipe on. Moray Towers. So, if Judd ever called in sick, what would happen? I don't even want to think about that. And now the current rank battle stages. Splattastic. Urchin Underpass. Ah, some of these signs are pictures of us. Only some of them? Why not all of them? Piranha Pit. What do you think they're extracting from this pit? Salt? You're usually pretty salty after battling here. Until next time. This world looks very empty without Miiverse. It's been unfortunate every time to come back into Inkopolis Plaza like this on the Wii U and not see any posts, but Miiverse was shut down a very long time ago, and unfortunately, that is just something we have not been able to restore, or at least as of yet. The community is working on fan-made servers to restore a lot of the functionality that was closed out on April 8th, 2024, but as of right now, at the time of recording this, this is our final moments of playing Splatoon online, as I'm only a few weeks away at the time of this video being filmed of being able to play this said game. So right now, I'm making the most of my time and playing a lot more of this game before I'm unable to play any more of it. So, to jump in, I'm going to go ahead and show out my gear set here, as we're going to be jumping in first with some Turf War, and I'm going with an old classic here for Turf War. The Aerospray RG, which has ourselves a set of Ink Mines and Ink Strike as its special with Special Depletion Light, and I have myself some classic gear too. The Jungle Hat, which gave me a lot of Ink Saver main, along with some Ink Recovery and Ink Saver sub. I got the Shrimp Pink Polo on, which has Ninja Squid along with a bunch of swim speed, and the Cream High Tops with Stealth Jump, Quick Super Jump, Special Saver, and a little bit of the Fence Up. And this, I feel, is going to be good for us to jump into Turf War. And unfortunately, the news didn't tell us what the rank mode was, but if we check here on the menu, we can see it's Splat Zones. So, you can play these modes for now. We could have also played with some said friends in squad battle, and we could choose either a squad of 4 people, we could play in a twin squad, or you could be that maniac and pick a tri-squad. Even though if you pick this option, there is a very, very strong, and I mean almost 100% chance of you being a 3-person team fighting a 4-person team, as it would never fill that set slot. So, basically it's just quad or twins. I never picked try, it never worked for me. It always ended in very uneven games, so we're not going to be playing any of the squad battles because I've tried playing squad battles before this game shuts down, and there's just not enough people queuing into Splatoon using this option. You have better odds finding ranked battles in solo queue than any kind of pairing of squad battle. But we're going to start things off by going into Turf War, and we got 2 different maps we can get, Bluefin Depot and Moray Towers. So let's join in and see which map we get. Alright, here we go. Turf War on Bluefin Depot. You'll be thankful I cut out these loading screens between games because due to the fact we're on the final days of the multiplayer on Wii U, not as many people are playing this as they were back in the heyday of Splatoon 1 back in 2015 and 2016 era. So it takes about, I don't know, 15 minutes to get a game. Yeah, it's a lot of waiting time. Once you're in, it's still good old Splatoon at the end of the day here. We can go ahead now because we got our specialty Ink Strike. We can use this to immediately shoot one of the areas on the map. And if you use the triple Ink Strike in Splatoon 3, this thing is nothing like that. Triple Ink Strike, you throw out 3 orbs to place down your said Ink Strikes. But in Splatoon 1, you manually tell where these said Ink Strikes go by pointing at your Wii U gamepad and selecting that location on the map. Another thing that's different here is how powerful our ink mines are, so I'm going to want to place mines whenever possible just because of how useful mines are in this game and how powerful they can be. And use my said strike here right next to where we're at. Cover a good chunk of area right next to us. And using Ninja Squid, I'm going to sneak around this area and see if I can catch this E-Leader off guard if he jumps down. Okay, well, he's definitely going to know I'm here now, so maybe not. Be extremely careful here. I can't attack anyone up above, so I got to be very sneaky at this point and wait for them to jump down to where I'm at in comparison. That E-Leader still knows that I'm around the area, so I gotta be extremely careful with him. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to get up to where that E-Leader is, as this guy can just chill up there for as long as he wants, and I unfortunately won't be able to do anything about it. But at this point, we're just cleaning house here. I'm doing a lot with this arrow spray, which I'm actually surprised about because I don't play arrow sprays all that much anymore. It's a 5-shot weapon, the only 5-shot weapon in Splatoon until Splatoon 3, in fact. But the downsides of using a gamepad for your map, spatial awareness is key, and I couldn't see where I was going because I looked straight down like an idiot. This is why I'm happy that in later Splatoon games, we just have the map as a toggable button now, so we can just pull it up on the same screen we're playing on. It's so much better than just looking straight down. It really is. I don't miss this. The one thing about Splatoon 1 I don't miss is either this factor where I'm just looking straight up in the air, pointing the gamepad up, which really messes with the motion, or I'm looking straight down to keep my motion correct, but then obviously, yeah, you just fall off pits if you're not careful. Almost took you out, but unfortunately, I'm a 5-shot, and you're a 1-shot, so that crack-on roller had a much better advantage there. It's getting a little close as we only have a few seconds left, and while they're in danger, they can easily take this game over in just a few seconds. Especially if they got a Kraken on the field, that's a little scary. This ending was not that great, but it looks like our squids are bigger, so that means we're in the lead by the last set of seconds, even with all that chaos happening, so. Scary ending, but still a victory nonetheless. And that is our game of Turf War. I'm going to be playing one game of every single mode in Splatoon, so that is our one Turf War game. We went 5 and 5, 1782 paint. Not bad, especially given them an arrow spray. These things paint like crazy, but that is our game of Turf War. So let's move on to our next mode here, Splat Zones. 25 minutes later, and we're here in Piranha Pit, ready to play some Splat Zones. This is one of the 2-zone maps, so I have a feeling this is going to be a very back and forth game. I'm using the Zinc Mini Splatting here with a bunch of quick respawn, so I should be able to get right back in the game, ready to fight with my very fast gun, with the Disruptor sub, along with the Bubble Special. This is definitely going to be a killer setup. And I also have Ink Resist on my shoes, which in Splatoon 1, this is a shoe-specific gear ability, so it's only found on the shoes, which is really odd to think about nowadays because you have Ink Resist up as a ability you can put on literally any piece of gear. And you see people run this on almost everything. Shirts, headgear, shoes, you name it. And it's just such an integral piece of people's builds nowadays. So, weird to think back in Splatoon 1, this was such a very exclusive thing that just honestly didn't need to be an exclusive, as we've seen later on. But it's such a crucial ability to have as a Splatling, as you're always getting stuck in enemy ink, which means you're always needing to have some kind of resistance to your enemy's attack, which, in the case of Ink Resist Up, helps you mainly get out of ink faster without worrying about chip damage all too much. So it's very, very helpful to have as a Splatling. And I run this on pretty much every class of weapon going into Splatoon 2. and onwards. It's such a integral thing to have. But this game here is one of the handful of maps, or 2 zone maps here in Splatoon, meaning that you have to control 2 of the zones here to actually start gaining points. If the team takes over the other zone, even just for a little bit, it will pause your said timer. But a team needs to have both zones under control for them to start earning points, which also includes adding penalties to the opposing team's point threshold. So thankfully, even though the enemy team has taken over our zone for a bit, we're not losing any points, and we're also not having the opposing team earn any points yet, which is going to be good for our sake, since we want to get in there as fast as we can, try to get the zone back before the enemy team actually has a chance to take it over fully. Looks like we died from a splat bomb around the corner. Couldn't really see that, so it wasn't the easiest thing to dodge, but that's perfectly fine with all the quick respawn we have. We're immediately back into the game, which in Splatoon 1, quick respawn activated no matter if you got a splat or not, which allowed you to come back in the games immediately, no matter the circumstances. As you can imagine, this was a little too overpowered, so starting Splatoon 2 onwards, you need to not get a kill for quick respawn to work. Once you spot someone or even get an assist, quick respawn will not work until after you die, and then the next time you come back and don't get a splat, then quick respawn will activate once again. I'm gonna rush in now. I have my bubble on standby, so all I have to do is if someone gets near me, I can just pop the special, and now I'm safe. Gonna wait for your bubble to run out, and now take you out, and there you go. Perfect. Get the zone back. We're just a handful of points away, and with that, that's victory. This build is one of the most powerful ones in the game. Zinc Mini Splatling is such a powerhouse, and how broken both the bubble special was back in Splatoon 1 along with Disruptor, essentially being Toxic Mist from later games but way too overtuned, and also being able to move with you, it makes this weapon super strong, and stack it with quick respawn that works all the time here in Splatoon 1. It's really, really powerful, and I can see why this weapon was considered in the meta when this game was making the rounds in the competitive scene. But we got ourselves a rank up, so we went to A+ before these servers shut down, which is cool. Which means a rank change puts us back into the queue system so we can find a new game. But we're swapping modes anyway, so this is perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and move on to our next game mode, Tower Control. Didn't take terribly long, surprisingly, to get into our game of Tower Control here on Moray Towers. Kind of hoping we would have gotten the other map here, Museum di Alfonsino, but we'll work with Moray. Haven't seen this map in a little while, so this is going to be interesting, to say the least. But I'm rocking the custom range blaster here. This weapon is a fan favorite of the blasters here in Splatoon. It is a very powerful weapon with a really strong kit. Not to mention, I'm running comeback on this, which will give me a lot of extra perks when I come back from death. And I do have quick respawn on, so I can easily come back in the game pretty fast. Not as much as last time, but still a lot of quick respawn. So we should still be coming back in the game within about 2 seconds. And we'll be testing that now, as I'm already dead. So it's actually closer to 3 seconds, but that's still pretty fast. Let's jump back in, and right now comeback is active, so I'm gonna have a lot of ink saving and movement based abilities on my kit right now, which is gonna be really powerful. Didn't actually want to get on the tower itself, so I just kind of poke around it, but that's okay. Got taken out by a suction bomb. This is fine. We'll jump right back in. Gonna go straight to where the tower is here by doing a super jump. I do have stealth jump on my said kit here, so that way I can just jump back into the action pretty fast while not having any enemies see where I land. Stealth jump works very different in this game compared to later Splatoons, as in later games, stealth jump makes you invisible only if the enemy is not close enough to see where you're jumping. But in Splatoon 1, it didn't matter where you jumped in. You were just invisible no matter what, which made this extremely overpowered. And honestly, it was one of those abilities that you just ran with everything just because of how strong it was. It's just such a good ability. Unless you needed something else on your shoes, there was no reason not to run stealth jump. It was just that powerful. So let's go ahead and use our stealth jump to jump straight back in. Right now, this is a very back and forth game between us trying to move the tower a little ahead and also the enemy team getting it almost immediately back. Poke around with our said blaster here, which blasters are really good for poking tower in tower control. This is why I picked a blaster specifically. And when this game was making rounds originally in 2015, the most overpowered blaster for this mode was actually the Luna Blaster, as no matter where you hit someone with the Luna Blaster in Splatoon, you were able to do so much damage with the said weapon. It was an insta-kill no matter where you hit with your said projectile. This obviously was a little too overpowered, so this got nerfed in a future update, which is very fair because any range of that weapon being able to kill you was a little too much. Be very careful at this point. I gotta push in a little bit here, help my team out, use my said Kraken. Not really do too much with it, but I am just kind of using it as a thing of pressure. Trying to be careful here, taking out this guy with me, which is perfect, so the end zap is no longer a problem. But we have a good lead so far of 32. No one else is around the tower right now, unfortunately, but this is okay based on this lead. This is a pretty strong game for us so far, so we want to keep up that said momentum. Careful here, trying to move my way back to the said tower. And this mode feels a lot more fast-paced than Splatoon 1 when you revisit the game, because starting Splatoon 2, towers now have checkpoints they gotta move through, so every map having a couple checkpoints you gotta swim through, upwards of 3 in total, is definitely something that drags the mode out a little bit more, but it was definitely needed. As tower control in Splatoon 1 wasn't really a game mode that lasted terribly long. If your team had a good push, the games could end in less than a minute if you were able to push in for pretty much the entire time and not get off the tower whatsoever. But starting in later games, this is not the case anymore, and in fact, games can be very back and forth in tower control to a point where you're almost getting very close games that aren't knockouts in a lot of higher ranking tower control maps. So I think they did a much better job with tower control in later games just because of how the checkpoint system works. I just think having the checkpoints made for a very good back and forth mode, and honestly it's probably one of my favorites to play in later Splatoon games. I think it was just a little too aggressive back here in Splatoon 1, but still I do think that this mode is a solid designed game mode at its core, and that's why it works so well even back in the first Splatoon here. But we're on our last 10 seconds at this point. We're just trying to make sure at this point that the enemy team can't really take our tower too far, because they need to win this game now in overtime, which we have a big lead over this team that they need to do a lot of work to actually win in overtime, and unfortunately they won't have the chance to do so. So fortunately for us, that means we won the game. So easy yet pretty back and forth game after a while there. We got a good push in the halfway mark, which secured our victory, and I'm happy about that. That was a pretty fun game, all things considered. I went 10-7 here with the blaster, a weapon class I don't play too much, but I've been playing a lot more, starting with Splatoon 3. So it's a weapon class that, honestly, I kind of slept on for many years, and I'm kind of sad I did, because it's really fun. Well, that was tower control, so now let's go to our final game mode here of Splatoon, Rainmaker. Alright, we're back at Kelp Dome for another Rainmaker game, which is kind of funny how my revisit to Splatoon put us at Rainmaker Kelp, and here we are yet again. Well, I didn't plan for this to happen, but here we are. So, for this game, I'm rocking the 96 Gal Deco. This is a weapon I'm playing a lot now in Splatoon 3 specifically, as the kit is the exact same in that game. But I do have myself the Cap of Legends on here, which is the last piece of gear you get once you get to level 50 in Splatoon. This is a very hard piece of headgear to get due to how many hours it takes to play until you get to the set point. And let me just say, getting here is no easy feat. But let's go ahead, grab the Rainmaker, and head all the way over to the side here, because we're just going to try to rush this thing into the enemy base as soon as we can for a quick and easy knockout. That was a very short game of Rainmaker. You blink, you miss it. I didn't even get a chance to replay much on this one. That one kind of felt a little dirty, but hey, that's Kelp Dome Rainmaker in a nutshell. There's barely any game to it. I mean, look, there's barely any kills and deaths in this game. Very fast. But you know what? I only do one game per mode, but this one was so short. Let's see if we can get to Museum di Alfonsino next. So we'll queue for one more game and see how that goes. Alright, here we go. Museum di Alfonsino Rainmaker. This is what we asked for, and this is what we got. So let's do this. I didn't get a chance really to say what else my setup here has on because of how fast that last game was. But I'm wearing the Kappa Legends hat, which has nothing but damage up on it, along with a shirt with some swim speed and quick respawn. So I can at least get in the game a little bit faster, which is really good that I have that, because I immediately need to use some of that. Perfectly fine. Game literally just started, so we're really not missing out too much here. This map isn't one of those super fast knockout maps, so at least this one I'm going to be playing on for longer than 1 minute. That, at this point, should be a guarantee based on how things are already going. So, be very careful here. We do have a charger, and that charger I do have to be careful because they do have damage up on as two of their primary slots. So that guy can do a lot of damage, even with a very minute shot of a said weapon. He can only use maybe half of his said charge to actually attack us, so be very careful. Get taken out by their E leader there, which has a lot of movement-based things on him, so that guy is definitely going to move around a lot. But Rainmaker's open. I'm going to grab it and try to move ahead a little bit, remembering that this Rainmaker has a lot of force to it. I'm used to the Rainmaker in Splatoon 2 and 3, where this thing, it's strong, but it fires pretty slow and isn't the easiest thing to hit an enemy with. Well, in this game, you don't need to be trying, the Rainmaker can easily hit your target, so gotta keep that in mind. Didn't get my wall out in time, which didn't even matter for those things. I got annihilated. That wall stood no chance. Let's jump back in. Looks like they're trying to go around, but it didn't really work. I did see that shot come out after the Rainmaker was already dropped, which that's kind of funny. That's definitely a lag moment, but this is an older game with some older servers, and also in general, the player base on the Wii U, because it didn't have a LAN port on it, a lot of players are probably playing with a mixture of either wired or wireless internet. Unlike the Nintendo Switch, where I feel like a lot more players are on wireless due to the portable nature of the console, but even wired on the Wii U doesn't really change much, I feel, but it is an older system with an older network chip in it, so it doesn't matter what you feed the said system. There's only so much you're going to be able to do with hardware that came out in 2012. Be careful, because I do know that there is someone over here still. Take him out with my weapon. Definitely use that wall in my advantage. I do see you, sir. Got you, that's good. Although it looks like he took me out on the way, which, that's unfortunate. There's a suction bomb there somewhere. Wouldn't see the suction at all with all that commotion going on. I'm gonna help to have Bomb Sniffer on, but I'd rather have Stealth Jump, which is how busted that is here in Splatoon 1. I'll put down my wall before I die immediately, and it looks like that did help for a little bit, but a burst bomb came out of nowhere. Good going, E-Leader. Let's jump back in. Takes a little bit for my jump to come out, because I don't have the fastest jumps on this said kit. Should probably put on a little more quick super jump, but the roll gear in this game is such an annoyance that you kind of just work with what you got. Nowadays, it's honestly kind of better to use external means to modify your gear in Splatoon 1, as this game has already gotten hacked back and forth. It doesn't really matter at this point, especially now with the servers being down at all. It really is up to player discretion. Nintendo's not going to be the one overseeing anything now, so it doesn't necessarily matter. And the gear I do have on, I will have to break the fourth wall in this one. It has been modified, and that's simply just because I do not have the time to grind this gear. Splatoon 1 pretty much is just rolling slots until you get what you want, which is not ideal. Splatoon 2, and especially Splatoon 3, do a much better job at the gear system, so nowadays you don't really have to worry about can you get this specific perk on your gear or not, because nowadays it's way easier to get what you want on your gear if you work towards it. But back in Splatoon 1, it was all luck based on what you actually had. So if you wanted to get good at this game with good gear, you really had to grind out those slots. Really had to hope for some good stuff from any of the rerolls that you would pull. Otherwise, you're just not going to be able to have strong gear. So most of the community, from what I've seen now, it's fine if you modify your gear just because of how stupidly hard it is to do, honestly. No one's really going to question if you do that. Just don't go into an online lobby having a bajillion hacks on that give you free games. So don't come in with all specials all the time. Don't do other said nefarious things like fly around the map or paint everything around you. That is just a little too much. But if you just modify your gear, that's perfectly okay in my books. But that game, way longer than the last one being, you know, a blink of an eye and you miss it. This one, on the other hand, while it wasn't a knockout, we were still able to secure victory with quite a big lead. So I'm happy about that. Didn't get to use my special at all with this said weapon, but sometimes you don't need your special with the weapon. And honestly, 96 gal deco takes a while to get it special. In hindsight, should have probably had some special charge up if I wanted to use Kraken more, but I was relying more on the main weapon here than the special itself. But that's our last game mode here of Splatoon played. So to wrap things up, I want to head back to the plaza to talk about my final thoughts here. Now that we're done playing our multiplayer sessions here for our final time, it's time for us to say goodbye to the Inkopolis Tower here in Inkopolis Plaza. But we're not done here in Inkopolis just yet, as I want to go over to the Amiibo box one last time to scan in 2 more final Amiibo. And to start things out, I'm going to scan in Callie of the Squid Sisters. Callie in the house! How are you? Staying fresh, I hope? Got a request for me? Yes, we do. We can listen to any of the songs here from Callie, including one here that's exclusive just to her. Bomb Rush Blush. This is her exclusive song, which you can only use the Callie amiibo here to listen to inside of Splatoon. But Ink Me Up, Now or Never, City of Color, Maritime Memory, and Mahi-Mahi Incantation all can be played at any time. And we're going to go ahead and play Mahi-Mahi Incantation here, the main theme of the entire Splatoon series. This song you hear in every single one of the games in some fashion, whether the original version of the song or a new rendition performed by the Squid Sisters. This song is in every game, and when you scan in a Callie or Marie amiibo to listen to music, you'll be transported into the nighttime theme here of Inkopolis Plaza. Very reminiscent of how the Splatfest looked when those were happening back in 2015 and the 2016 era here of Splatoon. Splatfest only ran for 1 year in the first game, but they were very memorable events. And anytime you scanned in your figure, you'd be wearing the shirt of that said character. So I'm on Team Callie here for this specific instance, while other people here in the plaza are Team Marie, as we can see by their shirts. And we can use our first person mode here by zooming in with ZR, and we can look at our performers here on the trucks. So we can see Callie here dance around performing, and we can do the same to Marie as well. And when you focus on these said characters, you will zoom in, and the little filter on the music will go away so you can hear it in its full glory. But that is Callie said use. Now, let's go ahead and change out our figure to another amiibo. Thanks for listening. Want our performance? I do, but it's not going to be from you this time, Callie. It's actually going to be from the other Squid Sister. Let's go ahead and scan in Marie. What now, Cal? Oh, it's you. How's things? What do you want to hear? So we can listen to every single song here, just like we could with the Callie amiibo, except the one exclusive here for Marie, Tide Goes Out. This is her exclusive song. And to end things off, we're going to listen to Maritime Memory, as now I'm wanting to wrap up my final thoughts here about Splatoon as a whole. And I specifically wanted to end it with Marie here specifically to talk about the Callie versus Marie Splatfest, the very final Splatfest in Splatoon 1 here. Now, Splatoon, since it ran for 1 year, it didn't have as many Splatfests as later games, but the final event had the two Squid Sisters here face off against each other. It was Callie versus Marie. I chose Team Callie for that set event, as Callie, of the two, at least at the time, was my favorite. I really enjoyed Callie's personality, and she really clicked with me, so I chose her team. But Marie was actually the victor of that said Splatfest. And because she was the one that won the final Splatfest in Splatoon, this is what determined the story for Splatoon 2. Marie was your partner character throughout the story mode in Splatoon 2, and Callie was nowhere to be seen. She has gone missing. The events between Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2 had Callie and Marie separate from each other, as at the time they both were doing their own thing, and Callie got lost along the way, not sure of herself going forward and getting very burnt out from all the showbiz stuff. She just wasn't sure of things, and that's what led to her disappearance for the Splatoon 2 story mode. And Marie was still manning the fort, trying to figure out what was happening to Callie, and was worried about her, so she went out to see what happened on her own. And that's when she recruited the new agent for the new Squidbeak Splatoon, Agent 4. From there, we know the story at this point, as we've already played through Splatoon 2 in its entirety here on the channel. And we know at the end of it all, Callie and Marie are reunited, and they're performing once again. And flash forward to Splatoon 3, and these two, they're closer than ever. They're working with each other, not only with new songs being written, but at the same time, they're also manning the fort for the new Squidbeak Splatoon. And it just goes to show how important these set events can be inside of Splatoon. These little Splatfests that you really don't think much of at the time, just two teams pitted against each other with very specific themes, it can change quite a lot in the overall world of Splatoon. And honestly, it's not just inside of the world Splatoon where these kind of events really do mean a lot. Splatoon, as a game, it means a lot to me as well, the player. For me, I was unsure about Splatoon 1 when it was first being revealed, as Splatoon, this is a brand new game that Nintendo has really tried their hand at making. They have never done anything like Splatoon before. When this was first shown, I didn't think much of it, as Splatoon just looked like another standard shooter, but with a little bit of Nintendo charm to it. But with what was shown at the time, it looked a little too simplistic for my taste, so I didn't think much of it. Until the global test fire demo released, about a month before the game released on the Wii U. Playing that demo changed my entire outlook on Splatoon. And from there, I've been hooked ever since. I have put over 1,000 hours between all three Splatoon games over the years. And this is a series that I go back to all the time in pretty much every fashion now. I'll play multiplayer all the time, either by myself in solo queue or with friends. I'll make sure to play every single event nowadays in Splatoon, all different Splatfests, all the newer events in Splatoon 3 like Big Run and Extra Work. I'll watch competitive tournaments of the game and follow the competitive scene just to see how much this game evolves over the years and to see other people appreciate this series too. Not to mention that Splatoon, just as a whole, has been very successful for Nintendo over the years. This brand new IP that took a big risk releasing on a system with a very small install base became one of Nintendo's most popular franchises. And now, it's a mainstay on Nintendo systems. Splatoon 2 released at the very beginning of the Nintendo Switch's lifespan. And since then, we've got another Splatoon game on the same system. And both games have sold incredibly well. Splatoon 2 even still being in Nintendo's top 10 most sold Switch games of all time. And Splatoon 3, when it came out, was breaking records, making itself one of the fastest selling Switch games that Nintendo has ever released on the platform. This series means a lot to more than just myself, but so many other people as well. I didn't have to come back to the Wii U game here before it shut down, but I felt like I should revisit this game one final time, as this game changed a lot when it came to just my overall impressions of games nowadays. I will not just write off something before playing it because you can't judge a book by its cover. And this game is a perfect example of that, as it turned out to be a lot more than what people originally thought just by looking at it from initial trailers. This series is such a unique and yet very fun experience no matter how you play it. You can be playing casually in Turf War, trying to get a little more competitive with the ranked game modes. You can be playing the special events they hold every few weeks or so. You can focus on just playing single player content, as Splatoon has plenty of single player content, whether it be in the base game itself or even DLC with future games. No matter how you play Splatoon, there's something here that I feel everyone will find some kind of enjoyment out of, and it's definitely a series I recommend everybody try at some point if they're a fan of almost a multitude of different genres, as Splatoon isn't just a shooter, it's not just a team-based game, it's not just a platformer with its single-player content. It's an experience, and especially when the game is actively running throughout its lifespan, getting constant updates, brand new stages, brand new weapons, brand new modes. Splatoon is more than just a game. It's an experience that I recommend everybody try out some point in their life, because to me, it brought me closer to friends. It has changed how I feel about a lot of different games, and I'll try more things now because of how well Splatoon just sold me on something I just wasn't sure of. And it's just sad to see that the original game, after almost 9 years, is finally over. It's sad to see it, but I'm happy to see that this game got more time than just its 8.5 years on the Wii U. Thank you for all the memories, Splatoon.